Hello everyone, it's Bethany from Madeline Jean Antiques Restoration. In this video today, I'm going to focus on this product right here, Polycrylic. And why does it yellow sometimes? Now, the product doesn't yellow. Let me say that again. This product is water-based and it should not yellow. But if you go through my comment section on a lot of the videos that I focus on this product, you'll see at least one person saying, I hate that product, it yellows. Yep, it yellows. It should not yellow. Let me say that again, it should not yellow. You know why? Because this is a water-based product and it should go on clear over your water-based paints. What's happening is a word called tannins. Tannins, have you heard about that? Let's talk about wood tannings real quickly. Okay, wood tannings are compounds in the wood that may bleed to the surface, come to the surface once you put a top coat on. You may not see them, you may paint, like this dresser behind me is a darker wood. If I sand this off, or maybe I don't even sand this off, and I just start painting, if I paint this white, it might look great, right? Then I apply the polycrylic. Then all of a sudden, the polycrylic brings to the surface maybe like a red hue, or it may yellow. So now we think polycrylic sucks. It yellowed my piece of furniture. No, the polycrylic did not yellow your piece of furniture. The wood tannings were brought to the surface, and that's what you're seeing, okay? Because tannins can be brought to the surface, extracted by water. So how do we block that? How do we fix that? I'm going to show you how to do that. I love this product. It's called shellac. This is what I use. I've done a video on this product as well. So for me, I preach this to people. Now, not everybody agrees with me, and that's fine. I know my projects come out with not yellowing and not having bleed through. So I'm preaching from experience. I truly, strongly believe you need to prep your piece before you start painting it. I know there's a lot of chalk companies out there that they praise themselves on that their product of paint, you can just take an old dresser and you can just start slapping paint on it and then put a top coat on it and you're fine. What you're gonna find probably either immediately happening is you're gonna see bleed through happen or yellowing happen when you apply a water-based top coat, or a couple months down the road, your paint's gonna start chipping and it's not, you're gonna see that it hasn't adhered to the piece of furniture that you painted. And it's all due to poor prep. For me, I spend most of my time prepping my pieces compared to the time I spend painting my pieces, if that tells you anything. So, how do you prep properly? I use a couple products and I just have this system that I do with every single piece of furniture that I restore. The first thing I do is I determine what areas am I sanding. So I'm working on a couple pieces behind me, a vanity and a dresser, and first off, I'm sanding off the finish on most of the surfaces that I'm going to be staining. Now, what about the surfaces that I'm going to be painting? If the surfaces are fairly flat, yes, I'm going to be sanding off the old finish. I want my paint to stick. Not only do I want it to stick, I want it to stay stuck years from now, okay? So I do prep so heavily, okay? So then after I'm doing that, I will clean with Crud Cutter on areas where I'm not taking the finish off with a sander. So Crud Cutter is a great cleaner. It gets all that just old gunk. You gotta think of some of these pieces have been around for 50, 100 years and nobody's cleaned them. They've been sitting in an attic, a garage, a storage unit, a thrift store. You gotta clean it. You gotta get that old gunk off. If you don't, it's not going to adhere to it. Think of it like when you go to a nail salon, right? They don't keep putting on nail polish layer after layer after layer, right? If your nail polish starts chipping or you have an old color, they remove it, right? And then they prep the surface, right? Before they start painting your nail. the same thing with furniture, okay? So after you've done determining where you're sanding, you cleaned it with Crud Cutter, then what I do is I shellac. And I always use a really cheap, chippy brush because really you can't clean these. Do you hear this? I shellacked something the other day and I wanted to show you how hard the brush gets. It's really stiff. So usually I will determine to get, for me, I like stretching my dollar really thin. So I don't like using brushes just haphazardly, like a lot of them at the same time. So I will line up projects that I know I have to shellac a lot of them, and I'll just keep using the same chip brush. But if you leave it sit out for a night or even a couple hours, actually a couple hours, it's gonna start to get really, really tough, okay? So I use a chip brush to apply my shellac. Usually I'm going to apply probably 1 to 2 applications of shellac over my dark woods. You're gonna find the most tannins appear on your cherry woods, your mahogany woods, your darker woods will definitely have a predisposition to bleed through to the top of the surface. So you really wanna seal that in. So I would advise definitely 2 coats of your shellac to do that. So what I thought I would do was a little demonstration here today to show you what do tannins look like when they do come to the surface. So I have some sample boards behind me. And on one side, I divided them in half, and on one side I applied 2 coats of shellac before I applied the paint, and then on the other side of the sample board I did not apply the shellac. I just painted 2 layers of paint. So on this sample board here, shellac and then paint. Here, no shellac and paint. So I did that on a couple different sample boards. One I painted a light gray as well. What we're gonna do next is I'm going to apply the polycrylic, and then you're gonna see how well does the polycrylic look on these surfaces, the ones that were prepped with shellac and the ones that weren't. So let's get started with that, okay? All right, you guys, I have my sample boards in front of me. These 2 sample boards are pine. I did one in gray, one in white, and then this one behind me is an oak. It's a little warped, I don't care, just because I was using it for this demonstration. So we are going to start with my polycrylic. And I have a 2-inch foam brush. I have a nylon bootie wrapped around it. And if you know anything about me, I've done quite a few videos on how to apply polycrylic. And if you notice here, I start on one end, bring it to about the middle, and then I go to the other end, apply some more, and then I do one swoop from one edge to the other. Do that again. Bring it to the middle, bring it again to the middle, and then one swoop to the edge. Okay, if you've used polycrylic before, you'll know that it dries super fast. So I'm gonna put that over there. And again, we are doing this for demonstration purposes to show you if you don't properly prep your piece with either primer or shellac, most likely those wood tannins are going to come to the surface, especially if you use a product like polycrylic. And it may yellow your piece, or it may they may look tan, they may look red, but most likely they're gonna come through. And then this is where people get confused and they say, oh, polycrylic, I hate that product. It yellows my pieces of furniture. Nope, it is not the polycrylic. It is you not properly prepping your piece. All right, here's the gray one. Working pretty fast here. Make sure they're all covered. And like I said, like from here to here, I applied 2 coats of shellac and then 2 coats of paint. On this side, I just did 2 coats of paint. And I'm gonna put that one over here. Let that one start to dry. And this is my pine board with white paint. if you guys have not subscribed to my channel yet, please go do that. I'm now over like 2,000 subscribers. I'm quite floored that I have that many subscribers now. I'm floored and thrilled and excited about that. The subscribe button is in the lower right hand corner. I believe it's red. Just click on that and then you'll get a notification every time I upload a video. You guys, I was just talking about you clicking on the subscriber button and then my phone just went black. I got the black screen of death. But thankfully that last portion did record of me actually applying the polycrylic. So one layer of polycrylic has been applied now. I'm going to let them dry and then I'm going to apply a second coat, and then we're going to compare the sides that I shellacked compared to the sides that I didn't do any prep work to. See if there's any difference, okay? So stay tuned, you guys. Okay, both coats of the polycrylic have dried on the 3 sample boards. There's one board in particular that I'm seeing a lot of the tannins come to the surface, and that is the sample board that is made out of oak wood. Let's see that one up close. So this one over here is the one I did the shellac to first and then I painted it. This one over here, can you see the difference? Definitely we got better coverage with applying shellac first on this side, then applying the paint, than I did just applying the paint and doing the top coat on this one. So you can see definitely with oak, it's imperative that you apply shellac before you paint and then you apply your polycrylic. Huge difference with that one. So sometimes you're gonna see a definite notice if you, after you've applied your polycrylic and you notice immediately that some bleed through is happening, it's okay, you can fix it. So what you'll do is you'll just lightly sand with like 400, 500 grit wrapped around a felt block, then apply 2 layers of shellac, letting each layer dry, repaint, and then put your top coat back on the polycrylic and you should be good to go. Now on the gray sample board, this was pine wood. Right now, I'm not seeing much of a difference between the two. Not much of a difference at all. Now, can that change after 24 hours? It sure can. There's a lot of people that will leave comments underneath my videos saying, I let a project dry overnight. It looked beautiful when I applied the polycrylic. I woke up the next morning and it was yellow. What happened? So sometimes the yellowing doesn't happen immediately. The next board was a pine board as well, and I applied white paint. This one you can't see much of a difference either. There are 2 spots that I can see really close up. I have some yellowing over here, and down here it's where the pine grain is coming through to the surface. You may not be able to see it here. So this is the good side. It's very covered here, a lot of coverage, looks good. On this side, I have a spot down here that's starting to yellow, has a little bit of an amber hue to it, and then up here, there's another spot. So I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow morning if I look at the sample board and it's gonna be even more yellow in those areas than it is right now. So, what can you learn from this? I want you to take away from this video, please, 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 when you're refinishing furniture and you will be using polycrylic as a top coat, remember, it's not yellowing because of the product. It's yellowing because you didn't prep correctly. So, shellac or prime. I prefer to shellac. That's that product behind me. Some people use a primer. That's fine too. That's why I say shellac or prime. I do like using shellac over primer. Apply it with a chip brush. Do at least 2 coats and you should be good to go when it comes to yellowing and polycrylic. Thank you everyone for joining me for this tutorial on polycrylic and yellowing. Biscuit and I Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to say toodaloo until next time. If you guys have any questions regarding this tutorial or any questions regarding a project that has yellowed on you once you've applied your polycrylic top coat, drop me a question in the comment section and I'm happy to help you either try to fix it, make it better, or try to get to the bottom of it, of why it happened, and so it won't happen again to you. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys very soon. Bye now.